I'm curious, have you seen a trend towards people doing microdosing and getting off of pharmaceuticals? Not
Many.
that that, okay, yeah.
Many. Yeah. And I've seen a lot of both. So some people come in with the intention. They're like, most of the time, it's like, I'm on this medication. I guess it's helping me manage things, but I certainly don't feel great on it. I'm kind of, yeah. And so I would love to feel better in my life. I'd like to move beyond managing symptoms and actually feel awesome again, feel joy again, feel hopeful again. Then we've had other people who they start microdosing and they just kind of decide that they want to taper off because they start to feel better. And they're like, I don't think I need this anymore. Probably the most I've seen that a lot with heart medication. I got a lot of people who were on like blood pressure medications and heart medications just were able to come off. They didn't need them anymore. They were getting monitored along the way, didn't need them. And also ADHD medications, which is interesting. And two, it was kind of an effortless thing where people were like, oh, it's been 3 weeks and I haven't touched my ADD medication. And they noticed that in hindsight. So it's a lot of both, but some people find it's the rarest cases, but we've also had a case where people came in and their antidepressants weren't working for them, and after they worked with mushrooms, they started working for the first time. They actually reached a new set point in their healing that their medications actually started working.
Wow, that's cool. I'm curious too about, I'm really curious about common things people come in wanting to heal.
Oh, it's so diverse at this point, which is so fun. I would say back in 2020, 2021, it was a lot of depression, anxiety, mental health concerns. During the pandemic, a lot of people were like, I've been leaning on the wine a little too much, just the stress of life increasing. And so it was a lot of mental, emotional things. But now it's so diverse. So lots of physical symptoms, headaches, nervous system conditions, women's reproductive health, PMS, PDD, things like that, fertility, lots of TBI, concussions, accidents, anything tied to nervous system healing. Psilocybin is almost always going to be supportive of. Um, Mental health continues to be, especially this year, mental health issues, emotional, like building emotional resilience and capacity for change is huge. And also, there's more and more people coming who are openly exploring their spirituality.
Oh,
There's a
yay.
very, yes, it's been so lovely to see because it's a big part of my life and my practice. And so more people are coming and saying, I lost a loved one. I'd love to reconnect with my ancestors, my lineage, lost loved ones in my life, or just connecting to my angels, my guides, and source. So that's been really beautiful to see and witness people move through that path as well.
Yeah, I'd say that that's kind of grief or losing loved ones or that's like the number one thing I feel like mushrooms help me with. In both the macro capacity and in a micro capacity. In fact, I was surprised by how profound the revelation was in a way smaller of a dose. It's like one or two like little capsules versus like buckle up, buttercup type of experience. Yeah.
That's
Uh,
wonderful. Can you share more?
yeah, so
Now I'm
yeah,
curious.
I'll tell you about both. So the first one, my dad died in 2013, and I just kind of had thought I was at a new emotional baseline. I'm like, okay, this is how much joy I can have or experience in life with my dad not in my life. I'm like, I guess this is it. And I had a mushroom experience where I felt like I astral projected and connected with his spirit, and like I could almost smell him in a way. And then had this moment, I was like, oh my God, how did I ever think you abandoned me? Like you've been here the whole time. And then I was like crying and laughing. 'Cause I'm like, how preposterous that I even thought that. And like, it was like such a good release. And it was like a reset button on joy. And then I like came out and went on the porch the next day. And then I just like noticed like the interconnectedness of everything or of life. And I'm like, oh, I'm part of this. But like watching like a hummingbird, come and, sit on a little flower or get a little nectar or something. And then recently it was what was it? April, May, but I lost a friend in February. And then this was like super microdose, but I was near the ocean. I was kind of like reminiscing, or like looking at some photos, and it kind of had led to this embracing of my country outlawness because he used to. I read a text message of his. It's like, I can't wait to catch up in that 903 voice. And I was like, I do have a 903 voice. And then I was like, I put on Outlaw Women by Hank Williams Jr. And then I was just dancing and then thinking about all these things that I'd kind of like put away. I'm like, oh, we can't own that, or we can't, so it felt like very much like reclaiming of different pieces of myself. Um, and it was beautiful, and very healing. And so I kind of feel like he kind of helped lead me to that in a way. And I feel differently about death now than I did with my first go with like the big grief at first.
Beautiful. Thank
Hmm.
you for sharing. I mean, we've been doing this work across cultures, across times as humans for so long. There's an inscription in a Greek temple that's thousands of years old, and above it it says, "If you die before you die, you won't die when you die."
Ooh,
And that's speaking to what you just shared. Yeah, it really, once you touch into this infinite, that we are everlasting, we are part of everything, and we go on. Our spirit and our energy goes on. It's unshakable. And everything after that is very, very different. We lead our lives with a different consciousness ever after. So, yeah.
definitely that. I mean, my grandma just recently passed too, and I was like, "All right, Grandma, Nana, how are you going to communicate to me? Like I'm waiting for my sign." And so there definitely has been that element too, of like, yeah, it's definitely opened up different possibilities, I'd say. But I love to hear that people are coming in like with the intention to explore that consciousness or God or whatever it is. Um, yeah, I love that. Any specific stories that you care to share, or that you have the consent to share, or
Oh, so many,
yeah,
so many. Um, what are you most interested in?
yeah, any of those, yeah, connected to it all, or expanded awareness or acceptance type of thing. I love like the consciousness piece or element, or
Okay. I know what you'll love. Yes.
okay, cool.
So I had this case was well, we'll just call her Dana. Call her Dana, not her name, but well, that's her name today. And Dana was one of those people who came in, and we were on our intake call, and she was this sweet, devout Christian. She was from Iowa. And I was like, "Do you know what I do? Do you know what we're doing here?" And she was like, "I think so. Maybe. I think so." And just from the start, she had this temperament that I've learned that mushrooms love. There's very specific qualities of people that mushrooms, I know they're just going to take off and have a gorgeous experience. And one of those is gratefulness. Like just those people who move, we all have them in our lives, right? That are just like the loveliest, softest creatures, and they just lead their lives wherever they are with a sense of gratefulness and acceptance. And this was Dina to a T. And so I had very high hopes from the beginning. And her goal was, she had lived a very dutiful life. Like she was the good wife, she was the great mother, she went to church, she did, but she really set herself aside all of her life. And so her intention and how she wanted to feel in her life was more expansion. She wanted to just feel a bigger sense of life than she had up until this point. She's in her 60s when she first started. And she'd had a really close relationship with her parents, particularly her father. They'd passed away many years ago. Um, and so that was her intention, and she began. Well, right from the first days, like she was in one of our 6 week group programs, and week over week, like we all were so excited for and also kind of jealous of Gina. It was every week she would have this profound interaction with nature, or she would have this beautiful interaction with people, this great expansive opening, powerful dreams. Every week she had a new dream that was extraordinary. And she came, so maybe we were heading into the 4th week, and I was out in my garden before that call, and I felt a male presence come in, and it said, "Tell her it was me." And I was like, okay. and it was connected to, I was like, it's connected to Dana. I said, okay. And so I just kind of set it aside. We had the call, and she shared that since we had last met, one of those tornadoes that happen in the Midwest that don't actually touch down all the way, but kind of just spiral in the air. Well, they had one of those come in, and it didn't touch her entire home, her entire yard. There was just one tree where this thing came in and spiraled, and it took clean off one tree, one single tree that was at the center of her yard. And she came to this call, and you could tell she had been crying, and she was really upset. And she shared that this had happened in her yard. And she was so devastated because her father had planted this tree with her many, many years ago. And this was her connection to him. And I was just sitting there listening to her story, and gave her space, and then shared what had happened to me. And it was her father's way of coming in and meeting her intention. She wanted a bigger life. And she ended up losing this tree. Like, it was cut off in such a way, it was meaningful that it was him, like unmistakably him. But she also had to take this tree out and plant all new life in her life. And she used the space to create a whole new, like, bigger expansion. And just, it was such a beautiful demonstration of, we set our intention, but what spirit can bring in is so far beyond anything we could have ever imagined. And sometimes things happen to us in our lives that, from our ancestors in the spirit world, they're just trying to get our attention. Right? They're not, what we conceive as a problem or devastating is actually them communicating with us. And she's just had been extraordinary. And so since that time, she's gone on to travel to a lot of special places, sacred sites around the world that I don't know that she would have ever traveled to prior in her life. And she's had really incredible connections to spirit, connections to her loved ones, extremely beautiful spiritual openings when she's gone to these other places in the world. So that's a beautiful case of what's possible.
That's so beautiful. It got me emotional. And it might be, and like I had a full like chill truth bump sensation go through my body. That's such a beautiful story. Mm. Oh, yeah. Like where to go from now? Okay, I know that now you started, or like facilitators can train with you, right? Or become a
Yes.
facilitator. Like, let's speak
Yes.
about how that came about, and I'm curious about it too.
Yeah, so that too kind of grew out of what was just organically happening. So people started in our 6 week program 5 years ago, and a lot of people would come through that. And by the end of like 6 weeks later, they would go, I think I want to do this. Like, I think I want to do this. Is that crazy? No, no. And so it was just kind of naturally happening that people were called to this work, had tremendous, amazing healing, and then, of course, just naturally wanted to share it with others. And so this has just been happening naturally for a long time. And they would participate in the programs and just it be in our community. But it was time this year. I spent most of February in Egypt, and I had some powerful, powerful guidance come through on that trip. And one of them was that it was time to really guide other guides to continue to hold space for our community, but also to hold space and provide more structure for guides to really train in this work. So we started that this summer. Yeah, so we're on our second cohort right now. We'll have our third cohort begins January 20th in 2026, and it's a 12-week program and specific to becoming a microdosing guide. So it's been fun. Like, so far, people have come. Sometimes we have people who have had a medicine practice of their own for some time, but they're called to do this professionally. Other people are in corporate. It's been really interesting. They're in corporate in very different fields, just feel kind of summoned to learn more about this work. Then we have a lot of clinicians coming in, lots of
Mm,
psychotherapists and
mm,
doctors who all their patients and clients are asking for
yeah.
this work. And so they're feeling like they want to educate themselves to at least be able to be informed and educated enough to share and support it.
Love that. I'm curious. I'm going to look into it. I feel like I've had some profound shifts that, of course, yeah, love to share. in certain ways. And I'm curious about your Egypt downloads. I had a pretty powerful one. I went in May of last year, and uh, and there were some microdoses involved at different temples and sites. And I'm curious, like, did any of the specific sites have a land with you more than the others, or?
Definitely. It was really extraordinary. I mean, I knew it was going to be extraordinary, but it surpassed even my great expectations of it. And it started like the night I got there. I remember lying in my bed all jet lagged in Cairo and feeling spirit come in. And I wasn't on anything, by the way, nothing the entire time. It was like I knew it was going to be a journey in and of itself. And it was. And I could feel kind of spirit come in and start to open me. I could feel my third eye open. I could feel this energy moving through me on like a cellular level. And I was like, okay, here we go. And each temple I went to, there was a new lesson and a new opening along the way, which thankfully I did take notes. I'm not always the best at taking notes, but I did take notes of the teachings and the openings in each place. But far and away, Dendara and Abydos were, yeah, those were the final two of this particular journey. I mean, I went other places after that, but it was after those two that I had this tremendous sense of like that this is complete.
Hmm,
And yeah,
love it.
how about
Uh,
you?
I would say Dendera, and it was like a cool, like playful energy, or like maybe the importance of playfulness. And at a moment where I left a crystal in like a little crack of one of the birthing chambers, and it felt like I was gifted something to birth into the world. It was beautiful. And then definitely Filet or Isis, I guess.
Yes.
That one. I didn't even really know that much about ISIS, or I'd read it. I kind of went, I was like, I like going into some places sometimes where I'm like, I don't have my preconceived idea or notion about what's going to transpire. I don't really know what this, you know, person or God is geared towards or leans the way. And so I went there, and I just felt like I was going to have rocket to the moon. Like I could barely speak when we were in the Holy of Holies, and like we had done like a meditation, and we'd only taken like one or two micro dose capsules. Like it wasn't enough to like have this kind of experience come through. But yeah, it was all I could do to form syllables and to like say my intention for how I wanted to interact and be in the world post Egypt. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess I got to be very clear and intentional with what's coming out of my mouth. I don't want to overpromise because I've got to deliver on this. Yeah, it was very beautiful. It felt like an activation or some kind of a kundalini awakening. It felt like something. I was like vibrating head to toe, and I like involuntary like sounds kind of came out of my mouth too. My teacher said that it kind of reminded her of the Harry Met Sally scene in the diner. I was like, oh, there was no faking that though.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a powerful. The land there is so extraordinarily powerful. I encourage people to go. Like even if you don't have any interest in, you don't need to know the history, you don't need to know the gods or goddesses. Like the land itself just offers you initiations and healing and activations. It's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, I was kind of like, I'm like, okay, when were the last time I 10 toes on this soil? Like thinking about that. Because there was always a pull there, like kind of like wrapping it back or tying it back to like dreams too. Like when I took that lucid dreaming course, I was like, okay, whenever I come to, my plan is I want to go see the pyramids. And so that's whenever I came to for the first time within that time frame. It was like, oh, and I went and like kind of flew around the pyramids, and it was like very cool. For some reason, like Egypt has always called me, but I didn't know, yeah, why or even exactly what all transpired, really, to
Well,
be
now
honest.
you know. Now you know. Yeah. I mean, I think that the goddesses have had so many names across time. When my guide first, now in hindsight, like I have one primary guide. Sometimes people have multiple guides and angels have a whole band. I just have one. I have one very strong voiced guide. And now in hindsight, like I can see that she's never not been there. It's so
Mm.
obvious in my childhood. It's so laughingly obvious now that I know her now, but it was really mushroom practice started to open me up. And a lot of times people ask, like, what do you think are the things that opened you up the most? And it was mushroom practice for sure, but it was how mushrooms allowed me to process grief. I
Mm.
think that grief is one of the primary, it's a very dense, heavy energy that we carry our own grief, but also grief in our lineage over time. And once we work with mushrooms to metabolize that grief, and just a lot of people are taken aback by how much they cry when they work with psilocybin. They're like, I didn't even know it was physically possible to cry that much, but you just feel liberated and free and lighter after. And that's what I think, is that thinning that allows spirit to come through. So spirit's always with us, and our loved ones are always with us. It's just we need to kind of attune ourselves to be able to hear that frequency. And so once you do, um, once I journeyed, that was the first time I saw my guide. And then once I moved, interestingly, I moved geographically from California to Florida. And once I made that geographic move where I was in a different energy, my connection to her completely blew up into, it's just an open channel now. Like she just comes in whenever she wants to now. But she was the one, she was like, it's time. Yeah. A year and a half ago, she was like, it's time to go home for you. And I was like, oh, Greece, because I'm of Greek lineage. And she was like, no, 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 my home, my
Mm.
home. And it was there that I came to see, like, the gods and the goddesses, and I think why so many women go to Egypt and just have these unbelievably expanded openings is we have known these spirits and guides throughout time and lifetime. We're all connected. They've been different forms and different faces, it called different things over history, but we share this kind of bodily knowing of them.
Even if we don't have the, story to associate with it. Like it's in our bones type of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, love that. I have a quick little lightning round that me and
Oh,
ChatGPT.
okay.
Yeah. Let's see.
Okay.
See if there's anything that yeah. Okay. It says mushroom that best matches your vibe right now.
Oh, I would say today probably Amanita.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the red and white one,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
The cute red and white one. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it says most underrated healing practice.
Breath.
You're the second person that said that today.
That's your sign.
Yeah,
Maybe that's your
I
sign.
know. I'm like, okay, I hear you.
Mm.
Um, and then a song that shifts your energy instantly.
I mean, I am totally Gen Xer and I love The Cure.
Very cool.
Yes.
um, one thing that medicine keeps whispering to you.
Lots of things. Let me choose. One of the things Spirit reminds me over and over, it came through powerfully when I was in Egypt, but ever since, especially working with women, is whispering that to remind us that we have always been chosen. There's never been a moment we were not chosen. We came here chosen, right? And you think about it, so many of us spend our lives like waiting to be chosen.
Uh,
Right?
yeah, that makes me cry too. Because I was just at like a sisterhood kind of like self-love body painting event on Sunday. And one of the things we did this like devotional undressing practice. And like one of the things I was like, okay, I'm shedding this idea that I can't be fully chosen or, and so that you even just saying that, like the synchronicity there is pretty cool and alive. It lands. Anything else that you want to share with people or?
Oh, just gratitude. Gratitude if you are still with us listening.
Yeah, you held on.
Thank you for, yeah. No, I appreciate it so much. This is the most powerful thing we can do right now is women sharing.
Mm,
Woman to woman sharing, it changes everything. And so just, yeah, thank you for the opportunity to share and hang with you and your audience. Yeah. And connect. Yeah. I invite anybody who is curious and wants to learn more, please step in. Yeah. We're super happy to support.
awesome.